Assalamu alaikum lovelies, welcome again to my channel. I'm Baliki Zabiola of Al-Hilaal Fashion, and in today's tutorial you'll be learning how to make this beautiful breastfeeding jilbab with front invisible zipper. If this is something you would love to learn, then stay back and watch to the end. Now let's get started. Because this is a breastfeeding jilbab with a front flap, we'll be cutting 3 layers of fabric. So we'll have the front part of the jilbab, the front flap, and the back part of the jilbab. So if you want to cut your fabric, your front length, back length, and the flap length, I will advise that you don't cut while the fabric is like this. It is advisable that you bring the selvage on the fabric together, fold the fabric into two, and lay down properly before cutting your length. This is because when you cut your fabric while standing this way, the probability that by the time you lay down your fabric, your intended length would have been shortened is very high, depending on which type of fabric you are using. So it is better you just fold into two and lay down properly before cutting out your length. For this jilbab, I will be using the back length of 70 inches, the front length of 60 inches, and the breastfeeding flap of 42 inches. I recently made a video on how you can derive your front and back jilbab length from your long dress length. If this is something you are interested in, then you can check the comment section for the link to the video. So I said earlier that I'll be using the back measurement of 70 inches. So for me to cut my back length, I'll first draw a straight line with my ruler on the upper part of the fabric. This is because I think the fabric is not as straight as I want it to be. So from that horizontal line, I will measure my jilbab length. Don't forget I said the back jilbab length is 70 inches. But we are not going to cut that 70 inches because don't forget the jilbab has a forehead cap. So I'll minus the forehead cap was 5 inches from the 70 inches. We have 65 inches. Then I will add 1 inch seam allowance. Always remember to add your seam allowance to your jilbab measurement. So I'll add 1 inch seam allowance to the measurement. That will be 66 inches. So I'm going to cut out 66 inches for the back length. I will also cut the excess on the upper part of the back jilbab length. After that, I will lay the fabric again on the back length of the jilbab to cut out my front length. I will lay it properly on the back length of the jilbab and I will measure 61 inches. So why I'm measuring 61 inches is because our front jilbab length is 60 inches. Then I added 1 inch seam allowance, making 61 inches. Since what I laid down for the back is 66 inches, so it is just easier for me to, once the upper part of the front and back jilbab are aligned, I will make sure that the difference between the back and the front length here is just 5 inches. It is just 5 inches. So the back jilbab length is 65 inches plus 1 inch. The original back jilbab length is 70 inches minus the forehead cap, which is 5 inches. So that is 65 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance. Then for the front length, it is 60 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance. That is 61 inches. So the difference between the back and the front length after laying it down will now be 5 inches. So I will cut the front length now. After that, I will lay my front flap on the back and front jilbab length. I already went ahead to cut out 42 inches length of fabric for my front flap. For the front flap, it depends on how you want it. You can make it shorter than this, and you can make it of any length, just any length of your choice. It depends on what you want. Now that the 3 layers are properly laid down on each other, we'll start cutting. On the upper part, which should be the face circumference, I will measure 5.5 inches. 5.5 inches for the wideness. And for the depth, I will measure 1.5 inches. This 1.5 inches only apply to the flap and the front part only. You won't shape in the back part. The back part will continue to be straight. And if this is a tie back, you know we are using forehead cap here. If, let's assume it's a tie back, I won't shape the front part in this way. It is because it is a forehead cap, that is why I'm shaping in. So I'll shape it in by 1.5 inches. From this edge here, I'll measure 13 inches down, and from that 13 inches I'll connect it to the edge of my face circumference, just not totally straight, just in a lightly curved shape like this. So I'll connect it. Then from there I'll measure 8 inches for the sleeve circumference, and from that point I'll connect down this way. And you can see the way I chucked it to the down part. So from the end of the front part of the jilbab, I'm going to shape it inward like this. I'll shape the back side of the jilbab inward like this. Then I'm going to cut out. For the face circumference, don't forget we are shaping in just the flap and the front jilbab only. Then I'll cut out everything. After cutting out, this is what I have. Now the next thing is for us to shape the flap of the jilbab. So for the flap of the jilbab, it depends on how you want it. But for this tutorial, I'll be using a V shaped design for the flap. So I'll place my ruler on the flap this way and I will shape it. I'll shape it out. After that, I'll cut. So make sure that we are cutting the flap only. The flap only. This is very important. So we don't make a mistake of cutting the front part of the jilbab with the flap. After shaping the flap, this is what I have. So now we are going to set this aside and work on the opening, the invisible zipper opening for the front part of the jilbab. Now to create the zipper opening, I will measure 17 inches from the upper part of the jilbab, 17 inches. Then after that, I will measure what I have for my invisible zipper, because this will determine how wide I will open up the front part of the jilbab. So I have 22 inches. So because the opening has to be smaller than the zipper, I will measure 10 inches. You know the jilbab is presently on fold, so 10 times, so that is 20 inches. It means if I open up this 10 inches, I will have 20 inches opening when I open up the jilbab. So I'm just going to carefully cut out. Make sure you remove the front part of the jilbab from the back part so that you don't cut them together. Then I'll open up this 10 inches. So after opening, this is what I have. Then I'll set everything aside now. Put the flap inside, set everything aside, and I'll cut my sleeve and my forehead cap. To cut the sleeve, I'll first measure what I have on the side of the jilbab. This will determine the length of the sleeve I'll be adding to it, because I want to make sure that by the time I finish sewing, the total measurement I have on the side is 38 inches. So after measuring, I will deduct it from that 38 inches. That is what I will use for the length of the sleeve. So now I'm going to cut the length of the sleeve and add my elastic casing allowance to it. Then I'll cut. After that, I'll cut my forehead cap. So for the forehead cap, I'll fold my fabric into two this way, then fold again into two. Then I'll measure 7 inches for the wideness and measure 5 inches for the depth. After that, I'll shape it in this way and I'll cut it out. After that, I'll pack everything together, then go to my machine to start sewing. Now to start sewing, the first thing I will do is to work on my flap. So I'll go to my machine now and neatly hem the edge of the flap. After hemming the edge of the flap, this is what I have. So now I'll set it aside and work on the front part of the jilbab. So now we are going to fix the invisible zipper on the front part of the jilbab. So to fix the invisible zipper, the first thing I did was to overlock the edge of the opening, as you can see. So now I'm going to create a dart-like stitch on the edge of the opening. So this is the left side of the edge. I will sew in probably like 2 inches, just as if you want to create a dart. After doing that, this is what I have on the negative part of the jilbab, and this is what I have on the right part of the jilbab. So I'm going to repeat the same process on the other side of the opening. Now this is what we have. Now I'll fix my invisible zipper. So I'll change my regular presser foot to an invisible zipper foot. But if you don't have an invisible zipper foot, you can equally use your regular presser foot, but it has a technique for you to get the total closure. So you can check on my video that I made on how to use a regular presser foot to fix your invisible zipper. I will drop the link to the video in the comment section. So after changing my invisible zipper foot, I'll open up the zipper this way and place it, you can see, on the right side from the negative part of the fabric. So I'm placing it on the right side but from the negative part of the fabric, making sure that the edge of the zipper is facing away from the positive side, and you will see that the edge of the zipper and the edge of the fabric are on the same side. So you carefully stitch it this way. Once I'm done with that side, I will remove from my machine and zip it up to see if I have the total closure that I want. So after doing that, you can see this is what I have. So now I'm going to repeat the same process for the other side. I will unzip the zipper again and I will carefully sew it down on the other side too. After repeating the same process for the other side of the zipper, this is what I have. You can see we have a complete closure for our invisible zipper, and you will even hardly know that there is a zipper there. So now the next thing for us to do is to join the front, back and the flap together. So to do that, I will lay my flap on my front part of the jilbab this way. So I'll make sure that the positive side of the front is facing up, and the flap that I'm placing on it also, the positive side of the flap is also facing up, as you can see. Then I will lay my back side of the jilbab on both this way. So the positive side of the back part of the jilbab will be facing the positive side of the flap. So the positive of the flap and the back side of the jilbab will be facing each other. Then I'll go to my machine to sew down the left and the right side. So after sewing, this is what I have. I also went ahead to overlock the sides after sewing. Now I'll be fixing my forehead cap to the face circumference. Don't forget that the front and the flap are together. So I'll place my forehead cap on the notch of the back side of the fabric now. So I'll make sure that the notch on the center back of the jilbab and the notch on the center forehead cap are placed directly on each other. Then I'll use my pin to hold it down. Then I'll sew it on my face circumference. So I'll sew it down on the left side this way and also sew it down on the right side this way. After sewing, this is what I have. I also went ahead to overlock the raw edge. So I will now hem the remaining part of my face circumference now. After hemming, this is what I have. So you can see it is very neat. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to work on my sleeve. For my sleeve, I'll fold it in with 3 inches this way. I will hem the edge, create the casing for my elastic, fix my elastic, and I'll show you the result. So this is what I have. If you want to know how I made this beautiful elastic design, I have a similar tutorial on my YouTube channel. I will drop the link to the video in the comment section, inshallah. So now I'll place my elastic on the sleeve side of the jilbab. I will sew it on my machine, both on the left side and on the right hand side. And after sewing, I also went ahead to overlock the edge, and this is what I have. So the next thing now is to bring the front and back jilbab together this way. Fold it into this way. then sew down from the sleeve to the edge of the jilbab. So I'll do this to the left side of the jilbab and also to the right hand side. After doing that, this is what I have. And I also went ahead to overlock the sides. So the last thing now is just for me to hem the circumference of the jilbab. So I will go to my machine now and neatly hem the circumference. After hemming, this is what I have. You can see how neat the stitch is. So what I did was that I made sure that I double stitch the edge just to give me that neat finishing. And after that, I went ahead to the ironing board and give my jilbab a very good press. Alhamdulillah. If you have watched the video to this stage and you find it beneficial, kindly like my video and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. I will see you in my next video, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.